Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's been a while since I posted a video, but I thought I'd say a little bit on Hassan. So I've been writing, traveling, and doing a lot of stuff in between my last video and now. And I just feel this urge to share with you what I've learned about Hassan. So the book I'm working on, if you haven't read the previous books, you can go on our website, themarhaminstitute.com, and you'll find the books are available for free on the website, and you can buy them on Amazon if you want to, if you want a hard copy. Yeah, so, but the book I'm working on now is part of the works in them talks about alimony and alimony basically. And so one of the articles I already published on the website that will be in the book is dowry as a means of alimony in Islam. And the one I'm working on now is called divorce as a means of alimony in Islam. So there's dowry as a means of alimony in Islam, and then there's divorce as a means of alimony in Islam. So the dowry as a means of alimony in Islam is available on the website, on the blog section. You can read that work. So while working on divorce as a means of alimony in Islam, you know, if you read through, you find a lot of good words. And I mean that literally. Like Allah says, so there is the use of Jamila, like Jameel. There's the use of Hassan, like do Hassan, do Ihsan, while during the divorce and stuff. And there's the use of Ma'aruf. And of course, we know khair, like there are a couple of other words basically in solih, solih is also one of those words that has been translated into good. So we have like 5 words or even more. Like we have khair translated as good. We have solih, like wa'amilu solihat, like they translate it to do good deeds or do righteous deeds. We have ma'aruf, which is also translated to doing good. We have Hassan, which is also translated to good. And we have Jameel, which is also translated in some narrations as good or beautiful and the likes. And so while writing this work, I basically had to go deeper, you see. That's basically what we do here, right? Classical Arabic and stuff. We had to go deeper into the classical origin of these words and how they morphed into this new meaning and stuff. And so I didn't want to be lazy about those. So the 2 words that really gave me a tough time were Jamila and Hassan. And as you know already, like Jamila is, everybody agrees it's beautiful, right? And then Hassan also translated as good, but a lot of narrations also say beautiful. In fact, while I was looking into it, while I was taking my time looking into it, I went for Juma, one of those Fridays, and Imam was literally saying, Hassan means beautiful. And I was like, well, what are the odds, right? And of course, the books have Hassan as beautiful. Of course, Hassan means beautiful. But what differentiates it from Jamila, for instance? And that's basically what this video is going to be about. So when I started the journey, you know, Allah says in the Quran, Surah Al-Rahman, A'lam al-Quran. Allah is the one that teaches the Quran. And so a lot of times when I find that I'm just in a bind, that's interesting. You find out why it's interesting later on. When I'm just in a bind on a word, I've found that when I just leave it for a while, leave that research for a while, and go maybe give it like a week or 2 and go back to the same texts, I find something different. So sometimes, I don't know, maybe it's just the tunnel vision or something, or maybe Allah just doesn't want me to learn it that time, because within that time, within that waiting period, there are some experiences that I have that then when I go back to the text, makes everything clearer, makes me even see something. It's an interesting phenomenon. And these are the experiences that you get. Basically, you get addicted to learning about the Quran. You see, Allahumma salli ala sallim, Ameen. May Allah make it easy for us. So Hassan was one of those words. So I had already gotten a hang of Jamila by this method. Actually, I was just looking into Jamila. What does Jamila? Now they even say Jamal means camel. You see, but what does Jamila really mean? Okay, I think briefly I'll just talk about Jamila. Hassan is the main issue, but Jamila in classical Arabic is said of fat. Like the fat from an animal. Like you bring it out and it's all murky and brackish and just clumps and here and there. But that's not the Jamila part. The Jamila part is when you then take the fat and then you put pressure on it, put it on fire or whatever in a pot, and it then turns into this silky oil. This silkiness, this silky, beautiful oil that it turns into is then what in classical times they call Jamila. So it's like this ugly thing has been made beautiful. So that the experience of seeing this transformation is what is called Jamila. And so whenever you find that like Yusuf's dad is one of the very good examples in the Quran, you find that whenever Jamila is used, it's from a very difficult instance. And so it is like he recognizes that what he's experiencing is like the pure fat from the animal, and he has to make it as beautiful as the oil, as the silky oil that is so palatable to see and experience. And so this is Jamila. And so when we say Jamila, when we look at an instance and we say Jamila, that this is Jamil, we are taking cognizance of what it was. We're not just taking cognizance, and we are being present to know that we have to do better, you see, or that something better has happened, basically. So this is Jamila, and it is very significant to have that at the back of our minds while we recite the Quran and try to make meaning of the words and the likes. And so, voila, it's already 7 minutes. Inshallah, I'll try to make sure I finish all around about 10 minutes. Inshallah. And so this is Jamila. So now to Hassan. So so when I started reading about Hassan, and then I was like, okay, let me just give it a minute and go do something else, give it some time, weeks and the likes. And then when I went back to it, the same text, I then saw convolvulus chirocus, which I think is the botanical name. But convolvulus is the name itself, and which is the name of the flower it's a flower, by the way. And the name of the flower is bindweed. I said I was in a bind, and now bindweed. So bindweed, bindweed. I'll explain the flower to you. I'm explaining Hassan now. So this flower was called Hassan. Husn is what this was the flower they called Hassan. But of course, you have the idea of the flower is beautiful. It's stunning. And like I said, there's Chirocus, which is the one found in Cairo. And then there's Arabicus, which is the one found in Arabia. Basically, almost all the regions have their own form of this flower, convolvulus, convolvulus, convolvulus. Just type in convolvulus, bindweed. That you should see the flowers. But the interesting thing about bindweed is, yes, it's beautiful, and so you can say, and so when the Arabs saw something as beautiful as the convolvulus, they say, that's Hassan. So basically saying it's basically as beautiful as a flower. But something we should realize about the convolvulus is that its roots go as deep as 3 to 5 feet. Like, they go as deep as 3 to 5 feet. So this flower is not just blooming and sharing its what they call it, sharing its beauty. Beyond that is that before it starts sharing its beauty, it goes deep, it entrenches itself. It has a very deep and strong foundation. And why it's called a bindweed is that it's one of those flowers that move and basically become itinerant. They are basically everywhere. Like once they start growing, it's very hard to get rid of. Like, but they are beautiful. But they are beautiful. And so some people plant it, and then what they do is they make sure to always trim it. You have to always trim it, or else it will go awry everywhere in your garden. And so there's this idea of it's not just sharing its beauty, it's before it even goes about sharing its beauty, it is making sure that as it's moving, it's deep, it's going, its foundation, it's going deeper and deeper into the earth. And so there's this. So when we want to describe, when we want to say something is Hassan or Ihsan or Husn, it must be something that if someone cuts it, so people try to get rid of it and they just cut it on the surface, but it sprouts back because you do not go deep. And you can go as deep as 3 to 5 feet if you want to get rid of it entirely. And so, inshallah, I don't know how long TikTok accepts these days, but inshallah, I'm able to upload even if it gets to 15 minutes, inshallah. Allahumma salli wa sallam, ameen. Anyway, so it goes deeper. And so there's this idea of if you want to do Hassan, it must be something that even when people try to get rid of it, it is so foundational that it sprouts back again. It is so foundational that it sprouts back again. And so this is the defining principle of Hassan. Number one, it is beautiful. Number two, it shares its beauty everywhere. And until you basically start pruning and trimming it, it will continue to just go about sharing its beauty. And number three, beneath all of these itinerance is that it makes sure that before it moves, it builds something so that for whatever reason it's being cut, it's still able to sprout back. It never gives up. It keeps trying to make sure that, trying to share its beauty, which is very beautiful. Number four, actually, is also that its flower is medicinal. So they use them for fever. They turn it into tea, fever, wounds, spider bites, menstrual flow, a couple of other medicinal advantage of it. And so its flowers is not just pleasing to the eyes, it's also good in every ramification, you see. And this is Hassan. And it's interesting, the morning I was reading that and I was looking and I was like, wow, Allah, thank you for making me see this at last. Then I went for a walk, and then I sat in front of my house and I was just looking at the flowers in front of the house. And wallahi, I spotted a bindweed. Right in front of my yard. Right in front of my yard, there was a bindweed. We have lots of flowers, and bindweed was one of them. And I was telling my mom, and then I told her the story of Hassan and all of this, and it basically entrenches this. Allah reinforces my understanding, my knowledge, you see. This is Alam al-Quran. Allahumma salli wa sallam, ameen. May Allah teach us the Quran. May Allah make us. And Allah says, Inna Allaha yuhibbul muhsinin. So Allah loves those that do ihsan. So in our daily lives, we should try to do ihsan. We should try to invest in people. Invest in them in a way that whatever comes, they're able to, if somebody tries to get rid of whatever good one is doing, there's this foundational investment in them, in the society, in the community, around the world, that it sprouts back. Like an example of ihsan, for instance, is building a well. It's going to be there forever. Building, growing a tree, all of this foundational goodness that No matter what comes, if fall comes and the fruits and the leaves fall, when it's spring again, it springs back and everything is good again. So these are so when we should be mindful of how we. So if we give somebody, I don't know, $2 now, that will be khair. That will be good also. But it gets to ihsan or Hassan when it has these qualities. And if you sit with these plants and you learn more and stuff, you can share it in the comment section below. And of course, ihsan will mean different things in different circumstances. May Allah make it easy for us to understand the Quran. I mean, ihsan, just like the flower, it's almost in every verse in the Quran, except some probably the short verses. It's not that much in those verses, but almost in every surah in the Quran, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, it's everywhere. And so Allah uses them in different circumstances. And inshallah, when the article is out, or when the book eventually is out, I'll post them here. I'll post the book here, and you'll be able to read them. Read the book for free on the website, and of course, get it for a fee on Amazon. Allahumma salli ala sallam, ameen. May Allah make us people of ihsan. Allahumma salli ala sallam, ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.